already got hesitated. Even though knowing exactly what you needed to do, deep down, you feel you have a direction, a clear intuition, an internal truth that whispers the way. But then comes fear, the look of others, the doubt that was not born in you, but was planted by those who never believed in you. And once again, you retreat, pretend you don't know, make decisions that do not represent your soul, just to seem right before the world. This is how many live, surrounded by noise, opinions, judgments, and disconnected from the only voice that really matters, themselves. But Ralph Waldo Emerson said, "Confidence in yourself is the essence of greatness." He believed that there is no freedom without consistency, that there is no strength without alignment, and that there is no real victory without inner confidence. In this video, you will discover the 10 deep truths that those who trust you have already understood, and they made them unshakable inside, even when the world around collapses. Because when you trust yourself, you stop asking permission, you stop explaining yourself, and finally, you start to live. If this message woke up something inside you, subscribe to the channel. Here, each video is a call to your truth, so you can rely on who has always been there, you. And if this content made sense, enjoy the video. Thus, he can reach other people who also need to remember who they are. Philosopher Ralph Waldo Emerson once wrote something that shook the foundations of conventional thinking. He said, "Trust in himself. Every heart vibrates with that iron cord." Think of these words for a moment. All heart, that iron cord. What did he mean by that? Emerson was not talking about some mystical concept or abstract philosophy. He was describing something deeply practical and deeply personal. For Emerson, self-confidence was not vanity or arrogance. It was duty. It was a moral obligation to yourself and the world. He believed that when we fail to trust ourselves, we are not just hurting our own potential, we are depriving the world of our unique contribution. The soul that does not trust becomes dependent on the approval, validation, and direction of others. It becomes a mirror reflecting the expectations of all others, rather than a light that emanates their own truth. Think of this concept in your own life. How many times have you had a brilliant idea just to convince yourself, because you seemed too bold, too different, very risky? How many times have you felt an attraction toward a certain way, just to abandon it because the people around you could not see what you saw? This is how Emerson was warning. This is the trap that keeps most small people. Emerson believed that the awakened individual is sovereign over his own mind. Sovereignty means complete authority, complete property. When you trust yourself, when you develop this unshakable confidence in your inner wisdom, it creates the world from within, rather than living as a reflection of what exists outside. You become the author of your story, instead of a character in someone else's narrative. But how do we go from theory to practice? How do we really develop this level of self-confidence? How to free ourselves from external validation, addiction, and learn to navigate the lives of our own internal compass? This is where we need to be practical, where philosophy meets real-world application. Over the years, studying human behavior, psychology, and standards of highly successful individuals, I have identified 10 fundamental truths that separate those who trust those who live in perpetual doubts. These are not just concepts where to think. These are principles to incorporate, practices to be implemented, and truths to live. But before telling you, right now in the comments, I choose to trust me above all. And if you want to take an even deeper step, share. In what situation of your life do you need to start trusting yourself? Your answer may be the beginning of your turn, and a mirror for those who are fighting silently by your side. The first truth is as follows. They make mistakes, but they are not ashamed of their mistakes. People who trust themselves understand something crucial about failure. They know that error is not the opposite of success. It is a step on the way to the truth. When you are not afraid of being wrong, you are free to take risks, experiment, force boundaries. Shame is the enemy of growth. When you free shame on errors, you free the fear you keep you throwing. The second truth, they do not ask for permission to change. Think about how this is revolutionary. Most people announce their intentions to change, seeking approval or validation before they even start. But those who trust themselves understand that real transformation begins where compliance ends. They do not need a committee to vote for their evolution. They do not need consensus to become who they should be. The third truth is perhaps one of the most challenging. They choose silence about the explanation. In our culture of constant sharing and justification, this may seem counter-intrusion. But people who trust themselves understand that not everything needs to be justified. Not every decision requires a defense. Not all options need to be explained to all the people who ask. There is a tremendous power to be comfortable with other people's confusion about their choices. The fourth truth: they trust intuition more than their opinion. This is where many people fight. We live in a world that loves data, logic, and external knowledge, but your intuition is your internal orientation system. It is information processing at a level that your conscious mind cannot access. Those who trust themselves have learned to value this inner wisdom about the highest voices in the room. The fifth truth: they don't expect to be ready, they just start. Readiness is usually an illusion, a form of procrastination disguised as preparation. People who trust themselves understand that you do not prepare for the next level of your life. You get up to meet you. They know that trust comes from action, not the other way around. The sixth truth: they face loneliness as part of growth. This may be the most difficult truth to accept. When you start trusting yourself, when you start making decisions based on your inner compass instead of external pressure, you can find yourself sometimes. But they understand that loneliness is usually the price of authenticity, and it is a price worth paying. Seventh truth: they speak firmly, but hear deeply. Trusting yourself does not mean getting your mind closed or arrogant. This means having sufficient confidence in your own judgment that you can hear others without getting lost. You can consider the input without being influenced by all opinions. You can be influenced without being controlled. The eighth truth: they do not compare themselves. This is the liberation of one of the greatest sources of suffering of humanity. People who trust themselves know that every soul has their own timeline, their own way, their own purpose. The comparison is not just the thief of joy, it is the enemy of authenticity. When you stop measuring against others, it begins to measure against your own potential. The ninth truth: they fulfill the promises to themselves. This can be the most practical and immediately applicable truth. Self-confidence is built through small acts of integrity with yourself. Every time you do what you said, whenever you follow a commitment to yourself, you are making a deposit in your self-confidence account. Every time you break a promise to yourself, you are making a withdrawal. The 10th and last truth: they live in alignment with their truth, even when it hurts. This is the final test of autorito. Sometimes living authentically means disappointing people. Sometimes it means making choices that others do not understand. Sometimes it means being alone. But they choose their own approval from all others because they understand that life outside the alignment is a higher order betrayal. These truths are not just concepts to understand intellectually. They are practical to implement, principles to incorporate, and options to make every day. Each represents a change in external validation for internal validation. From the search for approval to the search for authenticity, to live by the committee, to life by conviction. But knowing these truths is just the beginning. Real transformation happens when you begin to apply them to your daily life. This happens when you catch yourself looking for permission and choose to trust your trial. This happens when you feel the desire to explain all decisions and choose silence. This happens when you want to compare your journey with someone else's and choose to honor your own way. Now I want you to do something to me. I want you to close your eyes for a moment. Take a deep breath. Imagine yourself stopped in the middle of a crowd. Everyone is watching you. They are waiting for their decision. They expect you to hesitate, seek approval, seek consensus before you act. But something has changed inside you. You feel that iron cord about which Emerson spoke. You feel the strength of your own conviction. You say nothing. You don't explain yourself. You don't ask for permission. You simply get up, walk constantly, and cross a path you can only see. Because now you trust. You trust your soul. You trust what you feel deeply in your bones. You trust who is becoming, even if this person does not match who others expect you to be. This is not fantasy. This is not an illusion. This is what becomes possible when you develop unshakable self-tact. This is what becomes available when you stop living for the approval of all others and begin to live for your own authentic expression. The journey to self-confidence is not always easy. There will be moments of doubt. There will be times when the voices of criticism seem higher than your inner voice. There will be situations where being alone seems to be overwhelming. But remember that all people who have already had a significant impact on the world had to learn to trust themselves first. All innovation, every advance, Every moment of progress in human history began with someone who was willing to trust in his inner condemnation of external consensus. You have the same capacity within you. You have the same iron cord vibrating in your heart. You have the same ability to create from within instead of reacting to what is out. The question is not whether you have self-active capacity. The question is whether you are willing to develop it, to nourish it, choose it repeatedly until you become your natural way of being. From today, you can start making different choices. From today, you can start honoring your intuition on other people's opinions. From today, you can start fulfilling promises to yourself. From today, you can start living aligned with your truth, even when it is difficult. This is your invitation to enter a new way of being. This is your opportunity to join the ranks of those who trust themselves above all. Not because they are perfect, not because they never make mistakes, but because they understand that self-active is the basis of everything else. It is the foundation of authentic success, genuine happiness, and significant contribution. Write in the comments now, "I choose to trust myself above all." Make this statement not just for me, but to yourself. May it be a commitment, a promise, a line in the sand that marks the beginning of a new chapter in your life. And tell me, which of these 10 truths resonated with you more? Which one did you feel that you were talking directly to your situation? Which are you more ready to implement in your life from today? If this message has played in something deep inside you, if you are ready to continue this unshakable development journey, make sure you sign this channel. Here, each video is designed to be a return to your center, a reminder of your own power, a guide to help you live from within and not the expectations of others. Your authentic life is waiting for you. Your real self is calling you. The only question that remains is, are you ready to answer this call? Are you ready to trust yourself above all? The choice, as always, is yours.